pretty much sum up the Monday Night Football game in one sentence. The Ravens showed up, comma, the Rams didn't. Period. Stop. A hard stop. That's just the way. You don't lose a game by the margin the Rams lost to the Baltimore Ravens if you're trying. They can spin it any way they want. I know Sean McVay, I saw his news conference after the game, and he was in spin cycle mode there because you lose 45-6 at home. What were you doing all week? Did you practice? Were you coloring? Were you finger painting? What exactly were the Rams doing instead of preparing for an opponent? I mean, the Ravens are not an all-time great team. They're not. The Rams made them appear to be an all-time great team. I'm not going to push back on that. The Ravens were running around, drinking beer from fans, eating food in the crowd, and slapping the Rams around. And the Rams had no counterpunch. None. They were just a meek little loser. That's what the Rams were. Is that what this franchise has become, a bunch of losers? I mean, you get mollywopped from beginning to end.
Loser.
This is a curb-stomping situation. Lamar Jackson, you know what he did? He took a bucket, and he had a mop, and he mopped the entire Coliseum, the iconic L.A. Memorial Coliseum, which is actually a dump, even though they renovated it. He mopped the field with the Rams, is what he did. So let's discuss. Now, the big takeaways here from the Ram-Raven game on Monday night. You've got the oil painting, the doubting Thomas, and the fireable offense. And we will tie all these things together. Now, I want to start. I'll throw a curveball. I'm going to start with Lamar Jackson because my inbox filled up with people reminding me of past comments I have made about Lamar Jackson. And did he put a football clinic on? Yes, absolutely. And have many of you idiots taken notes on everything I've said over the last couple of years about Lamar Jackson? Apparently you have. And you just waited to remind me of my biting, award-winning, late-night radio commentary about the Ravens quarterback. Did I call Lamar Jackson a gimmick quarterback? Yes. Did I say he was a sideshow? 100%. Do I regret making any of those comments? Not at all. So the fact that you're emailing me dumb and trying to get my blood boiling, it's not working. Okay? I am not upset at all with those things I said. I'll tell you why. At the time I made those statements, at the time we talked about Lamar Jackson, they were spot on accurate, right? That was an accurate analysis. Lamar Jackson was a sideshow. He was a gimmick his first year in the NFL. He's not anymore. He's evolved. All right? He's evolved. Congratulations. He skyrocketed Lamar Jackson from a novelty act into a supernova for the Baltimore Ravens. Now, this could also be a short-term supernova, but he put up an oil painting against the Rams. I thought at one point in the first half, the officials should have allowed the Rams to have a 12th defender just to see if they could try to get Lamar Jackson to throw an incomplete pass because he had none in the first half. He only had 5 incompletions the entire game, averaged, you saw, I don't even get it. I mean, he averaged almost 9 yards a pass attempt. He was almost 12 yards per rushing attempt. This was the magnum opus of quarterback performances. In art parlance, it was a Picasso, a Michelangelo, a Rembrandt, I mean, any of the greats, the great painters historically. Lamar Jackson, right, in this game, did pretty much what everyone. It was like he might as well have been playing the Miami Dolphins or the Cincinnati Bengals. The Rams, who had statistically been the NFL's top, they were the top defense over the last 3 or 4 weeks, as far as points allowed per game and several other defensive categories. And they just went over there and they laid down and they started sucking their thumb and they got in the fetal position. I need a blankie. I need my safe space. That was the Rams defense. Because the Ravens will punch you in the face. You got to punch back. The Rams had no fight. Gutless football from the Los Angeles Rams. It's an embarrassment.
Have the lamb stopped screaming?
I just want to point out, though, as far as I'm going to go back to the art analogy, comparing Lamar Jackson to the great painters all time, historically, and all that, is a great quote by Andy Warhol, who had a lot of really good quotes. But one of my favorite quotes of Andy Warhol was, he said, "An artist is somebody who produces things that people don't need to have." And that pretty much applies. Like, you don't really need to have Lamar Jackson, right? I mean, you don't really need to have football. It's fun. It's fun to have football. But he certainly looked like he was playing at a different speed, partially because the Rams, they didn't show up. They did not show up. The entire Raven offense, they're not as good as that. They're not, because the other team didn't compete. All right? But on this night, a well-built, finely oiled machine. Mark Ingram rumbling and stumbling and running over Ram defensive players. Over 110 yards and a touchdown. And Baltimore treated the Rams like a kid treats a canister of Play-Doh. All right. That's essentially – the Ravens did whatever they wanted. They had 480 yards of offense. The Rams had 221, and much of that in garbage time. They were under 200 yards of offense until the late stages of that game. Ravens had 31 first downs. The Rams had 14. They controlled the ball, Baltimore did, for almost 40 minutes. Now, part B of this, as we talk here on Fox Sports Radio. So Lamar Jackson, I said a couple weeks ago he had not passed Russell Wilson. Now he has. Lamar Jackson, with this performance combined with Russell Wilson, what stinks? That was his performance in Philadelphia. Lamar Jackson now has zoomed past Russell Wilson in the MVP race. So after this latest week here, we're done with Week 12 in the NFL. You can put it in the books. Lamar Jackson is now in the pole position. He is in the number one spot. Nevertheless, though, all right, as far as the Ravens as a whole, I am still a doubting Thomas when it comes to the Ravens. I am not convinced yet that the Ravens are this almighty, all-powerful football juggernaut. That this is going to be the way the Ravens go the rest of the year. I would still take Belichick in Foxborough on a snowy day with that defense to slow down Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. Remember what Lamar did? Now, I know he was a gimmick and a sideshow last year, but what he did against the Chargers in the playoffs. And so there's going to be that whole, will he choke again in the postseason situation? The other thing, and I learned this from one of the great philosophers of our time, the great Funhouse, when I was enjoying the Dodgers going on the run only to lose to a cheating Astros team, the A-holes from Houston in the World Series, the cheaters.
I liked him in that spot. Yeah, I really did.
Yeah. So I learned this from Funhouse. The Ravens are peaking too soon. Okay. They're peaking too soon. They are. Right? You want to be playing at your very peak when the playoffs come around. What the Ravens are doing right now, while it's very impressive, is unsustainable. At some point, things are going to go upside down. It's impossible to play at this level the rest of the season. Remember, the Ravens, people seem to have forgotten, this team lost to Baker Mayfield and the Browns in Baltimore. This team had to go to overtime to beat Mason Rudolph, Duck Hodges, and the Steelers. Okay? The Steelers, who just almost lost to the Cincinnati Bengals this past week. They were in a tie game in the fourth quarter. So they still have that in the locker room. They still have that. So to expect a regression to the mean, I think you have to. And we see this all the time. Extreme outcomes are followed by more moderate ones. It happens in sports. It's one of the reasons people bring up the Madden cover jinx. Well, you're on the cover of Madden after you've done something great. You don't normally do things great back to back. It doesn't normally happen. That's how that works. But you have the plateau effect. Now, the Ravens play the 49ers in Baltimore. Bet you they wish that was a primetime game. It's not. They play at the Bills, Jets, at Browns, got the Steelers the rest of the way. Now, I'm going to tell you, if they beat the 49ers in dominating fashion, if they play against Santa Clara the way they did against the Rams, I'll start guzzling the Kool-Aid. I will start selling the Kool-Aid for the Baltimore Ravens. It's not going to happen, though. It's not. And the other thing, and we pointed this out, I mean, every game you point this out, Lamar Jackson, I'll be Debbie Downer. Lamar Jackson is doing a high wire act. He is exposing himself to injury more than any other quarterback in the NFL. Eventually, it might not happen next week, but it's going to happen. Snap, crackle, pop goes the quarterback. He's heading down Humpty Dumpty Road. Lamar Jackson is. It's just historically, this is how that works. The more hits you expose yourself to, the more likely you are to get hit. Now, the last thing here, the other side, the Rams, the better story in the losing locker room, total embarrassment. If I owned the Rams, heads would roll. The Ravens took the football the first 6 times and scored touchdowns on all 6 drives. And all of those drives were 7+ plays, 60+ yard drives in a supposed hostile environment on the road. Lamar Jackson, as we pointed out, he did not have an incomplete pass in the first half. The Rams played scared. They played like a bunch of cowards, spineless cowards. They were not prepared to play. Jared Goff is a dirty diaper, all right? This is what Jared Goff is. And I tried to warn these idiots that run the Rams. They did not listen to me. They did not. And now they're stuck with this guy. And they're going to have to try to hide the most important position on the field, the quarterback. Like, I'm not at the point where the Rams, it's over, sky is falling. People are so obsessed with these first-round draft picks. The Rams have effed up so many first-round draft picks over the years. How about you hit some 4th and 5th-round draft picks? How about that? It seems like Belichick there with the Patriots does pretty good with 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th-round picks. You're able to find players. But this is the worst loss in Rams history at the L.A. Memorial Coliseum. Played a lot of football there back in the day before they skedaddled off to Anaheim and St. Louis. But somewhere in a graveyard, Deacon Jones and Merlin Olsen are spinning in their graves thinking about that performance by the Rams. I mean, please. Now, it's no state secret what the Ravens are going to do. You know when you go against the Ravens. There's plenty of tape on the Ravens. Wade Phillips is a very nice guy, coaching legend, but that was a disgraceful job by Wade Phillips. Somebody's got to be held accountable. Now, I said if I owned the team, heads would roll. You know the first guy I get rid of? Eric Weddle.
You're fired.
Gone. Get out of here. Go play for the Ravens. You love the Ravens. Get the F out of L.A. Go play for the Ravens. Human sacrifice. This weasel, Eric Weddle, former Raven safety, refused to open the book of secrets and spill the beans on the Ravens, showing loyalty, more loyalty to his former employer than his current employer. Treason! Fireable offense. Fire him. Ironically, as a source in Baltimore told me, Eric Weddle desperately did not want to leave Baltimore. He wanted to stay in the Crab City. Guess what? They didn't want him back. The Ravens found somebody better. And this dum-dum, Eric Weddle, goes to the Rams. Fire him. You suck anyway. You can lose games.
You're fired.
By this margin, you can get rid of Eric Weddle and lose games 45-6. Okay? You can put me in the secondary, and you will lose games 45-6. Even better, because I'll try. It didn't look like he was trying. All right? Now, it's appropriate. The Rams wore their bright yellow uniforms, their special bright neon uniforms there, because they played like urine. So it's appropriate they looked like they played. They looked like urine. They played like urine. That's the Rams.